Yosef Shandling reconnected to his Jewish roots as a senior in college. In 1970, as a student in Yeshiva Hadar HaTorah in Brooklyn, New York, he had an audience with the Rebbe.
So when it settled, I questioned, the authenticity of the Yiddishkeit. Why is that the truth as opposed to some other truth? And the Rebbe responded to that, and he said a number of things, among which were that the Jewish people were the only people that were here today from antiquity. All the other people, weren't from antiquity, not here anymore. And when he said that, I recall asking that question before, or hearing the answer to that question from one of the Rebbe Shluchim, and I said to myself, well, what about China? Afterwards I thought about China. The Chinese people were there in antiquity, they're here now. Why are the Jewish people so unique? But somehow I didn't have the chutzpah to interrupt him and ask him about China. But in my mind, I was thinking about China, and my heart was beating, and I felt this kind of obligation to ask him about China, confront him. And then, as the Rebbe was talking, he answered the question. He said, as far as China goes, the Chinese people always had their own homeland. They were never in Golis. And also, at the time of Confucius, they changed their whole religion and whole view of the world. Even though it's true they were here from antiquity, but the Jewish people are still unique because they were in Golis and they have a consistent view of the world the whole time. I left Crown Heights and went to California, and I met who would be my wife. And I started my family that way. And I wrote into the Rebbe. It took a little time to get a bracha, but he gave us an answer that if we will be committed to Yiddishkeit, Askel Tzion. All this time, we were not keeping Chalav Yisrael. That was kind of one of the more relaxed things that I did, and then we did as a family. But meantime, my children were, growing up, and they were exposed to friends and families that kept Chalav Yisrael, and they understood what it was, and they liked that. They were attracted to it, so they wanted, more Yiddishkeit. They wanted to keep Chalav Yisrael. My wife wanted to keep Chalav Yisrael. I didn't want to keep Chalav Yisrael. I wanted to be more relaxed. But, I kind of, to make it go away, I said, well, write a letter to the Rebbe and see if the Rebbe responds. And I figured he probably wouldn't respond somehow. I don't know why I thought that, other than that sometimes the Rebbe doesn't respond, and sometimes it takes a long time to respond. So my wife wrote this letter, and she explained what I just explained, and she said she would appreciate I don't know if expeditious is quite the right answer, but she wanted an answer in some timely way because we wanted to do this before Pesach. And she sent a letter just a few days before Purim. And a day or two later, something like 10:30 at night, my phone rings, and I'm saying to myself, who is calling so late at night? So I answered the phone. It's Rabbi Grona. So when I understood it was Rabbi Grona, I stood up, and Rabbi Grona had a response from the Rebbe. He said the Rebbe, he crossed out Pesach. He wanted to do it before Pesach, and he wrote before Purim. A few days before Purim, and the Rebbe gave us a bracha to hara, to change the house over to Chalav Yisrael before Purim. So there was joy in the house, everybody was happy, I can't really say I was unhappy. I had a bracha from the Rebbe, I had a hara from the Rebbe, and so be it. So we had to make things happen very quickly, and with the help of the shluchim, we were able to do that. We changed the kitchen over to Chalav Yisrael.